All right, so chapter 10, it's the final chapter of, well, actually, there's two more chapters in the youth manual. They're just not chapters that we're going over because they're not related to program design. Um, there is a nutrition chapter for youth. So if you are interested in a little bit of youth nutrition coaching, there's some of the distinctions and changes that you'd make listed in that chapter. And then there's the professional development approach, which is a pretty solid chapter as well. It's just all about how to sort of market your business if you want to be particularly like a youth coach of some type. And that's really where you want to find your career. That final chapter is actually going to have some pretty good info on that. So I do recommend checking it out if you want to find yourself like teaching boot camps and stuff. But because it's not related to program design, we're not really emphasizing it in this class. We're just using the youth manual as a framework for us to explain regular program design, which is why we're really only going to look at phases 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 5 today. I'm going like 1, 2, 3 over here. 1, 2, and 5 today. Whereas on Monday, we're going to look at all of them. You know, we want to look at every single distinct phase. Yeah, so we want to talk about like the fact that we are going to use the OPT model here. You will see I did put information in the notes on everything. You can see I've got the 3 levels listed here, all 5 phases. But then we're going to kind of put some emphasis on 1, like I said, 2, and 5. You know, the OPT model is a very practical system that makes it very easy for us to like, you know, do program design. As I always like to describe it to people, it is exercise physiology, paint by numbers, which is ironic because I've got a paint by numbers date with my girlfriend this weekend. So we're leading into this. But you know, like it's like if you look at like a basic paint by numbers, right? What I mean by that is it's like, you know, it's a little image and then it gets, well, that's actually awesome. You know, it tells you like, oh, you put all the whatever color that is here, and you put all that color there, and you just kind of fill in the dots and follow the coloring book and do it the way you're supposed to. And by the end of it, you should have a pretty good work of art, right? That's really how the OPT model is designed, right? As long as you are choosing where you want your client to be and what phase of training, it shouldn't be too hard for you to plug and play everything. And until now, we've made that pretty clear with our exercise selection, right? If I got a client in, let's say, the power level, right? So they're in phase 5, they're peaking, right? Well, we're going to choose a little bit of like functional flexibility techniques. That's going to be a little bit of SMR plus dynamic stretches. Then I'm going to move them into a little bit of cardio to warm up. Then I'm going to move them into their movement prep or activation. I'm going to try and get some muscles turned on. So, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do a little bit of core, a little bit of balance, a little bit of reactive, and we're going to do the power versions of those types of exercises. So I'm going to move my spine fast. I'm going to move my balance leg fast. And I'm going to move my landings very fast. Like I'm going to transition very quickly with explosive reactivity. Then I'll get into a little bit of speed, agility, and quickness, which means I might do a speed drill followed by an agility drill followed by a quickness drill. Or maybe I just give them one drill that involves all 3 of those things. Maybe it's like a slightly extend, or maybe like a left drill, right? A left drill is that sprint, back pedal, side shuffle, karaoke, and then one final sprint. So I could have them do that, which is very speed and agility, but where's the quickness? Well, maybe I got a football and I throw and I hit them every time they get to the corner, right? So they sprint and turn around, catch it, drop the ball, sprint, turn around, catch it, drop another, you know, catch another ball, right? And then we just kind of get them through all, I guess, 6 bits of that. And there we go. Now suddenly there's a little bit of hand-eye coordination and it's becomes a quickness drill. Or maybe I shuffle it all. I'm like, all right, you're going to do the left drill, but I'm going to goof up the order. You know, we're going to do a modified left drill. So you're going to hear me say sprint for the first one. And then normally they do a back pedal next, but I might say side shuffle, right? And they have to side shuffle. And then I go back pedal, karaoke, side shuffle, karaoke, and then one final sprint, you know? They don't know what I'm going to say. So now it becomes like a quickness drill, right? So there we go. Now my client is really turned on, like all the right muscles are working. And then I'm just going to put them through like a simple power circuit. Maybe I decide to do like a total body power circuit because, you know, that's going to be a great way to burn a lot of calories, have a lot of fun. So I'm going to choose a total body exercise or two, you know, a chest exercise or two, a back exercise or two, shoulders and legs, right? Those kind of 5 key areas. We're not really doing arm stuff. If I want to do some, you know, arm stuff, we'll talk about that in a sec. But, you know, I'm going to do, you know, all power versions of that: total body power, chest power, back power, leg power, shoulder power, right? And that way, like, you know, and I'm making sure that I'm training my client consistently the same way through the whole workout. And now all I have to do is look in my book. You know, in this version, I'll just take a look at the chart here and figure out how many sets and reps, right? So I scroll down here and there's all my rules, right? I go down to the very end here and it's like, oh, okay, so I'm going to do somewhere between 3 and 5 sets. So we'll just go in the middle. We'll go 4 sets of everything. I'm going to do somewhere between 8 and 10 repetitions. So we'll go not in the middle because 9 is a weird number to pick. We'll pick 10. So we'll do 4 sets of 10 of everything. My tempo is going to be listed as very explosive. So I'm going to encourage my client to move fast the entire time. And then in terms of the weight that I'm going to pick, it kind of depends on like what the movement is. If it's like a body weight exercise, I might leave it alone. If it is, let's say like my chest power exercise is a medicine ball pass, right? In that case, I might have them do up to about 10% of their body weight. So if I've got like a, you know, youth client who weighs like, you know, 95 pounds, I'm going to use up to a 10, maybe up to a 9-pound medicine ball. So I'll probably pick like a 6-pounder or an 8-pounder, you know? Or let's say like I have them doing like a dumbbell push press, and I know that my client's 1 rep max. I mean, I probably wouldn't do 1 rep max training with a youth because I'm not going to train them that way. So I'll probably just pick relatively light dumbbells, but it should be like a dumbbell that's somewhere between like 30 and 45% of their 1 rep max. And I'll give them 1 to 2 minutes of rest in between, I'm sorry, 3 to 5 minutes of rest in between each circuit, you know? And there we go. I followed all my rules. Now I can cool my client down. So I'm going to do corrective flexibility on the cool down. I know that we do dynamic flexibility generally when we're in power, but again, it's the cool down. So the cool down, I don't care if I turn their muscles off. Let's do some static stretches, right? My client leaves feeling really good. They got a total body routine. They burn a ton of calories. And that is sort of our approach. So honestly, like we did this all verbally just now, and it's obviously much easier to do things verbally, but I could have probably designed that program in 5 or 10 minutes following NASM's protocols, you know? And all I did was very practically plug stuff in. I just took it off one list and put it in the cells, you know? It's paint by numbers. Now, the other really great thing about the OPT model, right? Like in this example, we jump straight to power. You would never actually do that, right? You would make sure that it's very systematic. Like I wouldn't just move my client into power, you know, whoever they are. I want to make sure they have like good movement. So I'm going to start them in the stabilization phase if it's my first month working with them, or I'll move them into strength endurance in like the second bit. Once I've got good stability and a good foundation of strength, then I can get into that explosive power stuff at the end, right? So I'm making sure that it's very systematic. And now once I'm kind of like up and moving and I've trained my client in various 3 ways, I can get into, you know, ensuring that they don't plateau. I can actually make sure that I'm periodizing my client so that they don't experience like plateaus, right? What I mean when I say periodization is like different levels of stress over different periods of time, right? So maybe I start in stabilization, like I said, move into strength, move into power. I could just go right back to the beginning, reset and do stabilization again. Now that my client's so much stronger and so much more powerful, when they get to the stabilization phase, maybe I'm doing a little bit of heavier weight this time. Now, I know that we don't progress things in stabilization using weight. We progress things in stabilization by making stuff more unstable, right? But I made them stronger in the other phases. So now their starting point is just a little bit higher than it used to be. And so, you know, it's a staircase that kind of, you know, builds like this. It's like, you know, it starts here and goes to here and goes to here. And when it resets, it comes to here. It's a little bit higher and then goes up the staircase. And, you know, it's what's that song? 2 steps forward and 1 step back. You're still taking 2 steps forward, you know, like in this case, I guess it would be like 3 steps forward and 1 step back, right? So they're resetting and making more progress from their new starting point, and they're getting better. And so that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. We want to really I want to kind of finish breaking down the OPT model, get really clear with it, understand the basic levels and how that has sort of informed our exercise selection. But today we're going to start looking at phases, and phases is where we're going to start understanding a little bit more about intensities, right? We're going to start looking at sets and reps and tempos and things like that. I'm going to introduce them today, and then we're going to spend a lot of time breaking them down on Monday. And then we also want to understand, the Borg scale. We got to know how to use this stuff for cardio. We got to understand how to incorporate circuit training into our cardio, because obviously it works really well. I got a weird black and white slide in the middle of my colored PowerPoint. So that's sort of where we're headed, right? So again, the OPT model, it's systematic, it's progressive, meaning that we're working our way forward through something that is going to follow a very clear set of rules that is going to apply exercise physiology very effectively. It used to be, man, when you learn this stuff like manually, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if every one of you guys could do this. It used to be like, let's say there was no OPT model, right? And like, Danny, you're going to design like an exercise program for somebody, right? You would have to basically run every one of your choices, like every set that you're picking and every rep that you're picking and your exercises. You have to run it through your like entire like knowledge of physiology, right? Like you'd have to like go through this giant library that you're building in your brain and pick out everything manually. You'd be like, all right, my client said they want to do this, and I'm trying to build a program. It's my first month with them. Since it's my first month, I should probably do the kinds of things that are going to teach them the key movements. So you know what? I'm going to go with a slow tempo. Okay, great. So choice one is made, and it's like, now I got to pick the right type of exercise for them. What's a good exercise is going to teach them how to do a movement? Oh, I'll probably pick something that's like a little bit unstable that focuses on like really learning and like focusing and like doing the movement properly. Maybe I'll do like a step up to balance instead of a step up, right? And that way, like they really have to like, learn how to hold their body. That'll work really well. And you like throw that in, and then you're like, all right, now they did say that they, I'm trying to teach them the movement. And so that means I'm going to do a high number of reps because the more exposure they have to it, the better they'll get at it. Okay, I'm going to pick a high number of reps. So somewhere between, let's say 12 and 20. But then my client wants to like build muscle primarily. They're not really focused on endurance. So I'll have to pick the lower range of that 12 to 20. We'll go with like the bare minimum of 12. See what I'm doing here? Like, it's like I have to think about so much stuff to pick one exercise, and then I got to do it for the next exercise, right? You would be kind of like constructing a series of rules in your head based on what you know of physiology. We know physiologically, the more we're exposed to something, the better we get at it. So that's high reps, right? We know that the longer we're exposed to something, the better we get at it. So that's a slow tempo. And that's why NASM put high repetitions and slow tempos in the beginning of the OPT model. So again, it does all the work for you. But you guys, I do want you to know all that physiology because, sometimes you're going to have to break those rules, right? So I'll add, let's say I've got a client who, I'm trying to train their whole body, and I am going to do chest stuff. But let's say my client has really bad shoulder rounding, right? Like we look at their posture, they've just got this like really overactive chest musculature, right? Doesn't mean I can't still train for strength in their chest, but it does mean that like every time I do a lot of strength training, their overactive chest muscles are going to kind of play an effect here. They're going to kind of, they're not really going to have the ability to recruit properly because they're already shortened, right? They're overactive. So my client's in hypertrophy. They're trying to get bigger. They're trying to like put on some muscle mass, but he's got an overactive chest, and today is chest day. So there's a rule that I'm thinking I should break. What do you guys think it is? What do you think? What rule do you think I should break here? We've got a really tight chest, but I want to strengthen their chest. What should we do? There's a little pop quiz. Oh, come on. Don't chime in all at once, guys. Anybody have any ideas here? Think about like what I'm trying to do. Obviously, like if they have really rounded shoulders, I want to fix that by opening up their chest, right? And if they're in hypertrophy, that means they're in the strength level. So what I would normally do is I'd normally do an active stretch. But for this client in particular, because it's such a severe shoulder rounding and they're so overactive, I'm going to keep all of my rules for the strength level except for doing except for doing active stretches. In this case, I'm going to do a static stretch, even though I'm in the strength level. So the more I know about physiology, the more that I understand like how to do this, the more I can break the rules if I need to in, you know, the various individual clients that I've got. And now I've created what is called a blended routine. And a blended routine is just, you know, primarily staying like one style, but making like one little adjustment here. If you look at my personal workout programs, you will notice that like it's an example of a blended routine. So like right now I am in strength, but I've got a couple static stretches that I do. And I've got a couple core stabilization exercises that I do rather than core strength movements. And so that's like a small little distinction that we're going to make. So the OPT model, we're going to split everything into 3 different levels. Each level is going to have at least one phase within it, but you know, the strength level, for instance, has a couple extra. So stabilization level obviously is going to be our foundation for everything. That is where we are setting up to increase our stability, increase our muscular endurance, and increase neuromuscular efficiency. This also gives us the opportunity to establish proper movement patterns in our client. This is where, again, my favorite approach is to focus on like the 5 key movements very early on in my training programs. I'm not just going to pick 2 leg exercises. I'm going to pick a squat and a hinge, right? And a push and a press and a pull. If I can teach my client how to do those kind of 5 key movements, those 5 movement patterns, I'm going to feel really good about them moving into the strength level later because I know they're going to be able to do it properly. So it's a really good place to increase our client's stability. It's a really good place to increase their neuromuscular efficiency, how to recruit the correct muscles to do things. And it's a relatively high repetition phase, which is why we call it the stabilization endurance phase. Right? The stabilization level means that we just pick stabilization exercises. The stabilization endurance phase indicates to me that my primary goal here should be to establish a baseline aerobic system, which will supply me with energy for the rest of my other systems. So this is a great foundation for any client, but especially youths, right? Because it's going to focus on, you know, a lot of different things. A lot of things are all coming together that fit really well, right? So let's just take a look at some of these rules here. Where's my big chart? I'll maximize this here. It'll make me just a little bit smaller. So if you take a look here, you can see these are all the rules that we're going to follow in stabilization. So Cyrus, Danny, you guys want to memorize everything on this table before your 9 months is up. Julio and Chris, I know you guys already know that. I know it seems like a lot, but again, we like to revisit this stuff literally every single mod. So it's not like you're not going to see this stuff again. But these are all the like kind of numbers you want to get like wrapped up in your head. My recommendation is to make some flashcards. Like each of these boxes would make a really good flashcard. And then if you want to like master each like section, each of these bullet points would make a really good individual flashcard as well, which is a lot, but once you have it forever. So there's our corrective flexibility, SMR and static stretches, right? It's 1 to 3 set, 30-second hold each. So let's go ahead. Oh, what's up? You will send this in the email? Oh yeah, so it's already gonna go out in your email today naturally. But it's also on Canvas. So if you want it, let's say before the email goes out tonight, remember, whenever you log into Canvas, you go into day 8 here, which is where we're at. And it's this one right here. I don't know why I put 2 of these on here. Actually, this past me goofed up. You can see I put it in here like twice, but any of these are the right one.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'll probably fix that before you get to it, because I think I'm going to fix that after the call. But yeah, it's available for download here. Also, if you ever can't do it, if you did subscribe to the YouTube, when I put the email up tonight and put the link in there, if you go down here, oh, that's actually, that link's not working. Oh, weird. Look at this, guys. I'm clicking the show more button and it's supposed to come out down here, but it's like coming up here. Hold on. Let's see if I refresh, if that fixes it. Oh, that's so weird. The YouTube app, this is busted. Unless YouTube changed their interface. Anyway, yeah, whatever. It's right here as well, Danny, if you ever want to download it off the YouTube channel. So that's why I always tell everybody to subscribe. I sound like a freaking YouTuber when I say that, but if you do, you'll get a notification every time, I upload a new video. So yeah, here are all those rules, right? Let's go ahead and use this to build a workout for my client, right? So I'm going to go ahead and open up like a new blank OPT template here. And we're going to go ahead and pick our exercises and sort of follow these rules, right? So I'm going to start with the flexibility stuff. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit because this is going to get kind of hard to see here. So let's say, we got my name here. My client's name is going to be John Example. Today is, the 25th, so 3/25/2022. And their goal is, increased athleticism. Right? So they're trying to become like a better athlete. I'm putting them in phase 1 because it's their first month of training. So now I'm just going to focus on corrective flexibility. The only things I'm going to pick right in the beginning are going to be self-myofascial release and some static stretches. So now I got to take a look at John Example's. I got to take a look at his assessment sheet. I found that he has a little bit of arms falling forward. So when he overhead squats, he has a hard time keeping his arms up. And he also has a little bit of his knees caving in. So he's got a knee buckling problem. So I know that means that the tight muscles he's got are going to be his adductors, his biceps femoris short head. It's a little hamstring muscle. We'll talk more about that in kinesiology next week. And he's got tight lats, pulling his arms forward, right? And probably tight chest muscles as well. So I'm going to just SMR. I'm just going to pick 2 here. I'm going to SMR his adductors. Those are those inner thigh muscles that are really tight, and lats, right? So there's his SMR. Now I need to pick somewhere between 1 and 3 sets. So I'm going to pick, let's just do 1, right? We're going to do 30 seconds each on those. And I'm going to put a coaching tip in here. I don't really have to, but it's always kind of nice. Say hold each tender area 30 seconds, right? So that encourages my client to find that most tender area and then stay there. Now I need to pick a couple stretches that are going to go with that. In this case, because I'm in corrective flexibility, I'm going to choose static stretches. So we're going to do a static standing adductor stretch. That one's listed in your book. Static ball lat stretch. That one's also in your book. I say he's probably got a tight biceps femoris short head. So I'm going to go static standing biceps femoris stretch. That's a hamstring stretch where it looks like this. That's the supine biceps femoris stretch where you lay on your back and do it. I do like that one, but in this case, I'm going to go for the standing version. I just saw a picture of it and I closed it right here. So this is one where they're going to go up like this, and they're going to kind of rotate away, which is going to be good. Ends up looking like that after he's in the full stretch. So there's the biceps femoris stretch that I'm going to have my client do in this version. And then lastly, get a little chest stretch in there as well. Static pectoral wall stretch. So again, 1 rep on or 1 set on each of those, and we'll do a 30-second hold on each of those, and that's going to be pretty good. Now I'll give my client a little bit of cardio, throw them on, this guy wants to get more athletic, so probably playing sports, which means he's probably going to be on his feet. So we're going to go treadmill, 1 set, 5 minutes. And I'm only going to take him somewhere between like 50 to 65% RA max. So that's actually below zone 1, but this is meant to be a warm-up, right? It's not meant to be anything too intense. So there I did, right? Like now I used the OPT model to kind of create, you know, this first little bit of workout, right? So I'm setting up a foundation based on, you know, stretching out those overactive type muscles that this client has. And now I just need to make sure that I'm doing like stabilization versions of things for a high number of repetitions at a slow tempo, because that's the best way for him to get better at these movements, right? So I go back here. I'm going to choose 1 core, 1 balance, and 1 reactive exercise, right? So that core exercise is going to be a core stabilization exercise. Let's go with like a bird dog, because a bird dog is going to be a really good example of how to strengthen his. He's going to get a little bit of glute work, right? He's doing the bird dog. You can see there's a little bit of hip extension there, right? We're really focused on kicking that glute back, just like we would in a squat. We're activating the glute here, getting really good at that, right? And then I'll have them do like a single leg balance with reach. It's one of our best ones, right? So they're going to get a little bit more glute work while also turning on the feet, right? So standing in one spot, doing a sagittal reach, doing a frontal reach, and doing a transverse reach, right? So now I just go over here and I pick single leg balance with reach. And then lastly, I need a box jump to stabilize it. I need some type of like reactive exercise that's going to turn on their nervous system. I'm going to go with a box jump to stabilization. So he's going to jump up onto a box. He's going to hold that squat position at the top and then step back down and repeat. So we'll go here and we'll say box jump to stabilization. Okay. And there we go. Now I've got all my exercises picked. I just need to fill in the right sets, reps, and tempos, right? So this is the core stabilization, balance stabilization, reactive stabilization. Now I need the rest of the acute variables. So for core, I'm going to pick somewhere between 1 and 4 sets. Again, I'm going to go on the higher range, but I'm going to go like kind of in the middle. I'm going to go with a 3 here. I'm going to do somewhere between 12 and 20 reps. Now the bird dog is a single-sided exercise. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 10 each. That's going to be a total of 20 reps, which is going to be perfect, right? For my tempo, I'm going to pick slow, right? And so that means that like on the tempo, it's like a kind of a 4-2-1 tempo, right? So we'll say 1 second kick with a 2-second hold and a 4-second transition, right? And that way, like it's 4 seconds to bring the leg all the way in, and then they're gonna kick for 1, hold for 2, and bring it in slowly. So his bird dog is gonna look something kind of like this, right? He's gonna kick back, hold for 2, and then bring it in slowly. Kick back, hold for 2, bring it in slowly, right? Until he gets all 10 reps on the left side and then switches to the other one, right? Now on that rest, I can pick somewhere between 0 and 90 seconds. My client wants to increase their athleticism. That means that they need endurance. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do 0 seconds of rest. That way, it's gotta get right back into the next exercise. We'll say we're gonna perform this whole thing as a circuit. So the next one we're gonna do is a single leg balance with reach. So I'm gonna go with 3 sets because that's gonna obviously make sense. With my other one, I'm going to do somewhere between 12 and 20 reps. Now, this is a single-sided exercise, so really that's going to translate to 6 to 10 reps. So you know what? 10 each again, right? It's perfect. And I'm going to go with a slow tempo, 0 seconds of rest. And then finally, I got my box jump to stabilization. We're going to go with 3 sets. Now, on this one, it's 1 to 3 sets. I'm picking 5 to 8 reps. Right, the reps are going to go down pretty substantially here. So I'm just going to give my client 8 reps here. Now on the tempo, it says hold the landing for 3 to 5 seconds, right? So I'm going to say 3 to 5 seconds, hold. And that's going to be my tempo there. Now I can give my client some rest. I'll give him I'm going to give him 30 seconds of rest. and then they can go back to that. And I'm just going to put a little coaching tip in here. Perform all move prep as a circuit. Okay. So there we go. Now I've kind of laid out my client's like movement prep section, again, using the OPT model. So again, look at how fast this is happening, guys. Like I'm overly explaining all this stuff like as we go, and I'm still doing this. You know, you can design a really good program for a client in 15, the better you get at it, the faster it goes, right? So yeah, so that is our core and our balance and our reactive section, right? We sort of take that whole thing through. Why can't I scroll any further? What have I done here? So now I need to move into my the rest of this here. Oh, I didn't actually minimize this. That's why. Whoops. There we go. So now I need to move into the speed, agility, and quickness section. Now my client here is only they're only in the stabilization level, right? So when it comes to choosing an SAQ, like on the field exercise, I need to pick some exercises that involve limited horizontal inertia. So I need to limit the agility and limited unpredictability, which means I need to limit the quickness. So really, I'm only going to pick some speed drills, right? As long as I focus primarily on speed drills, I don't have to worry about overtraining my client and doing something that they might not be ready for, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pick 2 speed ladder exercises. So these are in the stabilization level in your book, guys. I'm going to go speed ladder. I'm going to go 1 ins. And I'm going to go with the speed ladder 2 ins. Right. So now that's pretty simple. So I'm going to have them go through like a speed ladder, and they're just going to go 1 foot in each box on the first one. They're going to come back and 2 feet in each box. Right. So on my sets, I'm going to pick somewhere between 1 and 2 sets. Let's go with 2. For my reps, I'm going to pick somewhere between 2 and 3 reps. Remember, this is a whole speed ladder, so a rep is actually fairly long. Let's go with 3 though. We'll go 3 reps. Again, they're trying to increase endurance, right? They're trying to get more athletic. We're going to have a moderate tempo. I want them to move fast, but obviously they're a beginner, so I'm not going to push them super, super hard. And I'm going to give them 30 seconds of rest in between each set, right? And I'm going to give them this is going to be perform as straight sets. So they'll do 2 sets of 3 reps on the speed ladder with the 1 ins, right? So I'm probably going to have my client, maybe I'm teaching a group exercise class here, right? Probably not. This is a single workout, but so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my client go through the speed ladder, 1 foot in each box. They're going to run back around, go through again, run back around, go through again. I'll give them 30 seconds of rest. Then I'm going to be like, all right, set number 2, let's go back here. You're going to start with your left foot this time, right? Last time they led with their right foot. This time I'll have them lead with their left. And that way I keep them nice and even. Not that it really matters on 1 ends because they'd be even anyways, but just for the sake of getting them used to emphasizing being even on both sides, I'm going to set that foundation now. Then give them 30 seconds of rest, and I explain how to do the next exercise. We're going to do some 2 ins. So now they're going to run around. They're going to come to the ladder, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, all the way back around, left, right, left. 3 reps of that. Rest 30 seconds. Come back. And now they're going to go right, left, right, left, right, left. Right. So now I've set them up for success there. They got a little bit of speed drills in, right? Didn't do any agility, didn't do any quickness, really just kind of focused on linear speed. And now let's put them through like a little stabilization circuit here. And I'm going to go with the total body approach because I really like that, especially if I'm trying to build like a foundation with a new client. So I'm going to pick a total body stabilization exercise. That is going to be, for me, I'm going to do a squat, curl to press. Okay, so that is total body because it really does kind of involve everything, right? 2 feet on the ground, pointing straight forward. They're going to squat, bicep curl, shoulder press, right? And what's really great about that is I can make it more unstable the better they get at it, right? I might start with, let's just give them 10 pounds, and then that's the weight they're going to use. I'll make it heavier, or, I'll make it more difficult by making it more unstable. They get better at it. I put them into a staggered stance, right? They get even better at it. I have them start doing like single leg squats. They get even better at it. I throw them on a Bosu ball, right? Then I throw them on the Bosu ball with a staggered stance until eventually they're doing a freaking Bosu single leg squat, curl to press. That's a hard exercise. If I get them up to that, this kid's going to be the next LeBron. Hopefully less grumpy in the later stages of his career. I feel like the only thing I see on my feed right now is like grumpy LeBron. I mean, I can't blame him. The Lakers are struggling, but anyway. So there's my squat, curl to press, right? Now I'm going to pick a chest exercise. I've got I've got my dumbbells already there. Let's have him do like a stability ball chest press, right? Get a stability ball over here, make that a little bit tougher. Or maybe I have him do some push-ups, right? So it's a youth and I'm trying to teach him movements. Probably a better choice there, right? I can throw him on like a hand on a medicine ball, or I can have him lift one leg up. So yeah, we'll just go with like push-ups. For his upper back exercise, I already got the dumbbells. So I'm going to have him do a single leg bent over row. Maybe I start him with a regular bent over row first, and I make it single leg slowly over time. Get a shoulder exercise in there. Now he already did like a shoulder pressing motion. So why don't I get into a little bit of a shoulder raising motion? So I'll have him do like a single leg lateral raise. Then we've got a little bicep exercise. So we'll go single leg bicep curl. We'll have him do a little bit of a skull crusher here. I'm going to do one of my favorites, which is a floor bridge to tricep extension. So it looks like this actually. So he's going to maintain a floor bridge position and do some tricep extensions there. And what's really great about that is I can have him lift one leg up off the ground, or I can have him alternate. I can make it unstable by simply raising one leg up, or that's actually pretty intense. I would not do that. That's going to tighten up the calves like crazy. This will probably cause a hamstring cramp. I'm not a huge, if you're going to do this, go heels on the ground instead, not toes. I do not love that. Take it from me, guys. You do not want your clients to cramp up mid-session. And then lastly, I need a leg exercise. I've already taught him the squat with the squat, curl to press. So let's go with a hinge action here. Let's go with like a single leg Romanian deadlift. And that's going to kind of help with that, learning how to do that hinge action. So now I've got a total body exercise: chest, back, shoulders, biceps, triceps, and legs. So all I have to do is look over here under the resistance section and follow all my rules. 1 to 3 sets. We did 3 sets earlier, right? Let's do that, right? Let's go 3 on everything. Now I need to pick somewhere between 12 and 20 reps, right? This client here, I want to have room to progress. So why don't we start them? I'm trying to build their endurance. Let's start them with 12 reps in this first week, right? So we do 12 there, 12 there. This is a single leg exercise. So let's go 6 each, which amounts to 12. 6 each, 6 each, 12, 6 each, right? Well, actually, that last one is actually a leg exercise. So at the very end, we'll get 12 each. And that way, they're getting 12 on the left leg, 12 on the right leg. And my tempo is going to be slow. You see, it's a 4-2-1 tempo, right? So we're just going to focus on this really slow tempo here. I'm just going to list it like that. And then I'm going to have this client perform it as a circuit. 0 seconds of rest every single time until the very end. I mean, I could give them 0 seconds of rest there and they could go all the way back to the top, but I'll be nice and give them 60 seconds of rest at the end. And there we go. Now I've got a total body stabilization routine. All I have to do is do my cool down. So I'm going to ease them out by starting with cardio instead of ending with it. So I'm gonna go get on a treadmill, work out some of that lactic acid, take a lap, you know, do something like that as well. And then I'm gonna foam roll those overactive muscles of his, and I'm gonna stretch out those overactive muscles of his. And I'm just gonna use the same as my warm up. And there it is. That took me, what, 25 minutes with explanation of every choice that we were making and comparing it to the OPT and, you know, pulling a classic Brad and over explaining. And I still was able to do this in like 25 minutes, right? And that is sort of a good stabilization endurance routine for my client. So I'll go ahead and just like save this here. Stabilization endurance youth routine. There we go. Right? I use the OPT model. Does that make sense? I mean, hopefully to everybody, but Cyrus, Danny, how you guys feel about that?
Okay, I'm trying to process everything.
It does move sometimes, like when, you know, I want to show you guys how quickly this stuff moves. Sometimes that can move fast, but do you feel like if I was like, look, Danny, I want you to pick one core stabilization, one balance stabilization, and one reactive stabilization off this list. And then I want you to plug the right numbers in, and you look at your chart and you find those numbers. You feel like you could do that?
I'm not sure.
Okay, that's a good answer. Yeah, you know, obviously you don't have to necessarily always think, you know, tying it to the posture and the goals and like putting all that together. That's where the artwork comes in. You know what I mean? That's what I want you to know how to do by the end of your program, right? That's the art, you know? But it starts with just being like, all right, I'm going to go into your book and like, actually, you know what? Let's do that. I'll open up the book here. Where's that youth manual? Youth manual right here. I'm gonna scroll down to that exercise resistance strength. So I'm gonna go down to page 56 here. That actually did not get me as far as it needed to. And there we go, right? I've got, these are the example of stabilization version exercises. Here's the strength ones, and here's the power ones. So this is like a mini list compared to like what was in your book. Well, compared to what's in your actual textbook. So I'm going to swap out these exercises. Look at this. Instead of doing that, I chose the squat, curl to press last time. I'm going to switch it out for this total body exercise here. The lunge to balance. So they giving me, hold on. Lunge to balance. Oh yeah, that's my leg exercise. This goes in a weird order. Shoulders, chest, legs, total body, upper back. Yeah, they got it all in here. They're missing arms. So I'm just gonna I'll take the arm workout. But I'm literally just gonna go like this. I'm gonna go with this total body exercise here. Step up, curl to press. So instead of squat, curl to press, it becomes step up, curl to press. The push-ups actually get to stay the same, so I don't actually have to change that one. Instead of a single leg bent over row, we're doing a single leg tubing row. And instead of a single leg shoulder press, we're doing a seated ball overhead press. Seated ball overhead press. We lost the arm stuff, so we'll just delete those. And then my leg exercise is the lunge to balance. And I can keep all the reps the same. All the sets and reps and stuff are sort of naturally following my rules because they are in they're in NASM's table there, right? We already followed all the table rules. So again, all I did was I looked at the book, I grabbed the right exercises, threw them onto the page, and then I looked at the sets and reps and tempo, and I threw them into the right boxes, right? Does that make a little more sense now? You can see like how I actually kind of grabbed that stuff and plugged it in.
Yeah.
So here's where the sort of artistry of it comes in. And this is where you're going to get a little bit more advanced. The one thing I don't love about this version that we pulled in from the book We've got a step up curl to press there. And we've got like a seated ball overhead press. So I've got like 2 shoulder pressing movements in the same like circuit of exercises. So I'm like, I personally, I don't love that because it's kind of like doing the same movement twice. So instead, I would probably just change that overhead press to a like a lateral raise, or like an A pull, something for some other part of the shoulder. And then me personally, I don't love the fact that it's like a step up and a lunge, which are both squat actions. I would like to get a hinge pattern in there if it were me. But other than that, this is a good routine. So there's definitely more exercises in your regular book. I don't want to pick anything today that isn't in your sort of standard textbook, but these are in the youth textbook, so they're also a pretty decent example. So yeah, so that is sort of our approach there, right? So I'll go ahead and save that version and close that. So let's take a look at the strength stuff and see if this gets a little bit, clearer when we look at the next example, right? So there's the stabilization stuff. Now my client gets better. John example here, he's been improving. I've been training him for 30 days now, and it's time to move from the stabilization level into the strength level. Now, your strength level has 3 phases within it. Okay, the idea here behind strength is that we're trying to improve the load-bearing capabilities of our muscles, our tendons, our ligaments, our joints, everything, right? We're just trying to increase force production. So we're going for like motor unit recruitment and motor unit synchronization, right? We're training the nervous system. We're increasing the volume here. You're going to notice that while the reps go down because intensity is climbing up, the sets are going to go up. The sets are going to kind of really climb here, right? Looking at all these rules, what I mean by that, right? See here, it's 1 to 3 sets, 2 to 4, 3 to 5. Oh my God, 4 to 6. Like it really, like the volume really increases. I mean, 4 to 6 is practically double. It's a little bit more than double actually, than this version here. So we really are really climbing the total volume here. So let's take a look at how we would do this with youth. So with youths, we'd pretty much only stay in phase 2. We're really only going to put the emphasis on the strength endurance phase. So strength endurance is just like it sounds. The idea here is that we're trying to improve force production. We're trying to improve strength, but we're focusing on endurance, which means like ideally in terms of repetitions, we want to focus on high repetitions. That's how we build endurance, right? So this is going to increase the load capacity of the muscles with the strength part while pairing it with a stabilization exercise to further challenge stability and force production even further. That's how we're getting our endurance, right? So typically, this is where we are doing a superset technique. Okay, so the one thing we haven't talked too much about yet, Cyrus and Danny, is that like one special rule of phase 2 is the superset technique. Okay, so we're going to do a superset of 2 exercises back to back. The first one's always going to be a strength movement, so we get the heavy stuff out of the way in the beginning. Then by the time we're tired, we just have to keep pushing forward with the same muscle using a stabilization exercise. So what I might do, let's say I'm really trying to improve my endurance in my legs, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with like a really heavy barbell squat, right? I've got a barbell on my back. I'm really just like loading it up with plenty of weight. And I'm going to get through, let's say, anywhere from 8 to 12 repetitions, right? So I'll go with like 10 reps here, like really heavy, like 1, just like 2, just like knocking that barbell out. I get to 10, I'm going to rack that barbell. And now, rather than going straight into my rest, because I'm trying to build endurance, I'm going to step onto a Bosu ball, right? And now I'm all wobbly, right? I'm balancing on my Bosu ball. I'm going to pick up like a dumbbell or 2 dumbbells or maybe a kettlebell, something else to kind of load it. And I'm going to keep squatting even further, right? And that Bosu ball is wiggling and I'm squatting and I'm wiggling and I'm squatting. I'm going to keep going for another let's say 10 reps. So really, I'm doing 20 squat reps, right? I'm just doing one strength exercise first, and I'm pairing it with a stabilization exercise second. So Danny and Cyrus, for you guys in particular, have you guys ever done a drop set before?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So here's what a drop set is.
Me either. I don't think so.
Okay. It's sometimes they call it, have you ever run the rack? You ever heard that? That's what sometimes people call that drop set. My room is hot. So a drop set is where, let's say I've got dumbbells in my hand. I'm doing bicep curls, right? So I'm like curl, 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 and it starts to get really heavy. And I'm like, oh God. Ugh. And I'm kind of tapped out, right? I can't really do it anymore. So I'm going to drop those dumbbells. I'm going to step to the left. I'm going to pick up a lighter pair of dumbbells, and I'm going to keep going. That's a drop set. I'm dropping the weight, and I'm going to kind of keep going. That is sort of what's happening here in this superset technique, right? I'm doing 2 exercises back to back, but I'm going from light to heavy. So they call it running the rack sometimes, because let's say you start with like 30 pounders. I can only do like 8 of those, and I get really tired, and I drop them. I go down to 25 pounders. Maybe I only get 3 more reps in. I rack them. I go down to 20 pounders. I'm dropping the weight until eventually I've got these little 5s, and I'm like, you know, like, and even little 5 pounders are just, you know, burning like crazy. That's a drop set. It's a pretty advanced style of training. You don't really do it with everybody, but it is very good for building a little bit of muscular endurance. So NASM is taking that drop set technique, and they're sort of hacking it a little bit, and they're turning it into a strength endurance superset. So we have to call it a superset because it's 2 different exercises. A drop set would just be doing the same thing and just lowering the weight, right? You're doing tricep extensions, you pull the pin, raise it up a little bit, pull the pin, raise it up a little bit until eventually you're exhausted, right? You're doing a bench press, somebody pulls some plates off, you keep going, they pull some more plates off, right? That's a drop set technique. Really good for maximal muscle damage, very good for building endurance. People will claim that it's good for strength. I totally disagree. Good way to build endurance though. So NASM is going to take that, and that's how we're going to do superset techniques. So what we're going to do is we're going to superset a strength movement with a stabilization movement. So you can see here, he's doing a strength movement. This is a very stable chest exercise, a bench chest press. But he's going to pair that with the stabilization level chest exercise that maybe we did it last month, or maybe we give them a new one, right? So maybe we set a bench near a cable machine. Cable chest press is a really good stabilization chest exercise. And then that bench chest press is a really good strength exercise. So I get really heavy pair of dumbbells. I do my chest strength exercise first, and I'm like, set them down, right? Immediately, I'm going to stand up. I'm going to take as little rest as possible. I'm going to grab that cable machine, and I'm going to keep going with my chest press, right? And so I'm really building my endurance because my chest is getting 0 rest, right? So looking at that in a routine, right, it would look something kind of like this. Oh, no, I don't actually have an example version there. Hold on. Where's my strength endurance one? Okay, that's blank. I gotta stop falling for that. There we go. So I do a bench press, and then I got a stability ball right next to me. I finish doing my bench press. I rack it. I roll right off the bench onto that stability ball. I grab my dumbbells and I keep going, right? Maybe I do like a really heavy bent over barbell row, and then I pair that up with like a stability ball row. I put my chest on the ball. I've got dumbbells. I'm going to keep rowing, right? I've got a really heavy bar with a military press. I'm going to rack it. I'm going to immediately do like I'm on a stability ball, and I'm doing my shoulder press with dumbbells. Again, heavy barbell squat, into a heavy ball squat like I started with. So that's how I'm going to do strength endurance here, right? I'm going to pick some of those key movements and I'm going to superset them all together. And then I'm just going to pick the right number of sets and reps, just like NASM tells me, right? I look here, here's all my strength endurance rules, right? I'm just going to stay in this row this time, right? So for my program design, I go with active flexibility. I go 1 to 2 sets, right? Let's go here. Where's that program I opened up just a minute ago? So last month, it was all about static stretches. This month, it's all about active stretches. So I'm still going to work on the adductors. I'm still going to work on the lats. I'm still going to work on the biceps femoris. And I'm still going to work on the pectorals. But instead of doing static stretches, now I'm doing active stretches because I've moved into phase 2. It's no longer March 25th. It's April 25th, right? I'm in phase 2 now. So that means that I can't do 30 seconds each on my stretches because they're not static stretches anymore. Now they're active stretches. So I'm going to do 1 to 2 sets of 5 to 10 repetitions with each rep being held for 1 to 2 seconds. So my duration, I'm going to pick somewhere between 5 and 10 reps. So let's go with, 10 reps. 10 reps. Oh, that should be 10 reps each. 10 reps each there. Right. And then on my coaching tips, like hold each rep 1 to 2 seconds. And there we go. Now I told my client, like, look, hold your foam rolling for 30 seconds. But once you're done with your foam rolling, you can do 10 reps each. You're going to hold each rep 1 to 2 seconds, right? So my pectoral wall, I would stretch and let go. Stretch and let go. And that's going to actively stretch out my chest, right? I go down here. I'm going to pick some core strength exercises, some balance strength, some plyometric strength. So now I went from not moving my spine, not moving my balance leg, and like not moving upon landing. I got to change these all up, right? So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn that bird dog into, let's go with like a ball crunch, right? I'm going to crunch through a full range of movement. I'm moving my spine. I'm going to change that single leg balance with reach to a single leg Romanian deadlift. So now my balance leg went from not moving, right? Like I'm moving my other leg, but I'm not moving my balance leg, right? And now I'm going to move that balance leg. And then I went from a box jump to stabilization. I jumped, I held my box, and I jumped back, I step back down, jump, held my landing, step back down. Now I'm just going to do box jumps, right? It's easier. Delete that, jump up, jump down, jump up, jump down, jump up, jump down, right? No holding, no pauses. Now I got to plug in the right sets and reps. So again, on this time, it's 2 to 3 sets, 2 to 3 sets, 2 to 3 sets. Great. I've already got 3 sets for everything. I can leave that alone. 8 to 12 reps, 8 to 12 reps, 8 to 10 reps. So you know what? Let's just keep it at 10. Let's keep it at 10 each. And let's make those box jumps 10 this time. Now, I finally got some symmetry in my routine. 10, 10, 10. Easy for my client to remember. Tempo this time, though, is going to be medium instead of slow, medium instead of slow, and repeating instead of a 3 to 5 second hold. So we're just going to change that to medium. We're going to change that to medium. And we're going to change this to repeating. 0 seconds of rest, 0 seconds of rest, 30 seconds of rest at the end, because I can pick somewhere between 0 and 60. So I went right in the middle. I just need to delete that. Still perform it as a circuit. Didn't have to change that, right? So now I got a really good movement prep circuit. But I go down here, I need a little bit of speed, agility, and quickness now. Well, not quickness. So I look at the rules, right? Allow for greater horizontal inertia, but I'm still limiting the unpredictability. So now I can do speed drills and I can do agility drills, but I shouldn't be doing quickness drills. So now I'm going to have them do that speed ladder where I still get a little bit of speed action in there. But instead now afterwards of doing a speed ladder like a 2-ins, I'm going to change that and do like a left drill. Okay, so the left drill, right? That is 2 cones about 20 yards apart, sprint, back pedal, side shuffle, karaoke, and then they're going to sprint through the cone one final time, and that's it. And that is the classic left drill. That is cardio city, you know? So I go over here. I need 3 to 4 sets this time. So we're just going to raise that sets up to 3. My reps should be somewhere between 3 and 5. I'm going to keep it at 3. You know, this is really going to be like a lot of cardio. So I'm going to start low and I can build it up slowly over time. My tempo now should be fast, right? Instead of moderate, it's like, hey, now I want you to really, you know, last time I was like, no, it's the speed ladder. I just want you to get the movement correct. You know, like I was like, step in the right boxes, use the right foot. It's all I cared about last time. Moderate tempo, like try to go fast, but do not sacrifice form for speed, right? Now it's like, I want you to go fast. Right? Like now it's like, you know how to do this? Let's pick up the pace, right? We'll give them 30 seconds of rest still. So there's my SAQ approach. Now, all I need to do, if I open up the book again, right, is I need to pick the right exercises. So I open up my manual here, and now I'm going to pick strength versions of things, right, which is this version, right? I'm picking stable versions of stuff. So we have got the medicine ball squat to overhead press. So instead of a step up to balance curl to press, right? Now we're going to do a squat to overhead press. So that is very much a stable total body exercise. So I'm stable and I'm going to squat and press, right? Now, because this is a stabilization, or I'm sorry, a strength endurance routine, I got to do that superset stuff I just talked about, right? So I'm going to leave the total body exercise alone. And now I'm going to pair up every one of these strength movements with an appropriate stabilization movement to go with it. So we'll go with that squat to overhead press. We'll leave that one alone. Let's insert a row above this here. So we have a little bit of space. It'll be easy for our client to read. Here's our chest exercise. The push-up was a stabilization movement, right? So now I want to go with a strength movement before it, okay? So I need an exercise to go with each one of these. Oops. I need an exercise to go with each one of these before it, right? I need a strength movement before I get to these stabilization movements. So before the push-up, I'm gonna, which is my stabilization exercise, I'm gonna go with what I got here. This is a staggered stance tubing chest press, right? So staggered stance tubing chest press. Then I do my push-ups, right? Then I'm going to do this seated tubing row, right? And that'll pair up with my single leg tubing row. So I go from strength to stabilization. Maybe this is like a 40-pound resistance band, and then the light one is like a 20-pound resistance band, right? My weight goes down because obviously I'm still doing the same movement. I'm going to be tired, right? Instead of a seated ball overhead press, we're going to go with the seated dumbbell overhead press. And instead of a lunge to balance, we're just going to go with a dumbbell squat first. Right? So now I got to follow all my rules. So I'm going over here, somewhere between 2 and 4 sets, 8 to 12 reps each movement. So medium tempo for my strength exercise. It's a slow stabilization tempo for my stabilization exercise. Okay. So honestly, guys, this is a lot of work. This is a really big circuit now. We just doubled the number of exercises in our circuit. So I'm going to drop the sets down. I'm going to take it to 2 sets this time because that's still well within the range. And my reps, I'm going to leave the stabilization reps alone. I'll keep them at 12 or 6 each, depending on if it's a single-sided exercise. And I'm just going to pair that up. We'll go with like 12 here, 12 here, 12 here, and 12 here. So now, how many reps are they doing for their chest? 24, because it's 2 back-to-back, right? How many reps for the upper back? 24, right? It's double. And then these aren't slow tempos, these are medium tempos for all the strength movements. Zero seconds after the first movement, and we'll say like 60 seconds after the second movement. Okay, so there's my admittedly more complicated, much more challenging for sure. You know, we're moving up the OPT tempo. It's got to be more challenging, right? Strength endurance routine. I would say strength endurance routines and power routines are probably the most complicated types of routines to build for your clients. So that is phase 2. We moved our client up, 30 days. That's our strength endurance routine. So now I keep moving, right? Now you look at the notes over here, you can see I could move my client into hypertrophy. Now this is a youth, so we're actually not going to do that. We're actively going to avoid doing that today. But hypertrophy is going to further increase the load capacity from moderate to high with relatively short rest periods. And the idea here is to increase muscular volume. We're trying to make the muscles bigger. That's the whole goal of phase 3. So basically, we would just take the routine that we just built and we would make it a little bit heavier, and we would remove all of the superset techniques. So now they really don't have to do like one body part at a time. They don't have to do like the superset thing, but they can lift way, way heavier in response to that. So we're trying to get the muscles bigger here. And then we got max strength, and this further increases the load capacity from like high intensity. We went from like moderate, we went from like low intensity to moderate intensity to high intensity to maximal intensity, right? Like this is like 1 to 5 super heavy reps with the goal of increasing your muscular and nervous system strength. So max strength really is meant to be max strength. That was not my most elegant sentence. It really is going to make it much, much, much harder. But again, we're not doing that with youths. They don't really have the capacity to grow that way. So why would we spend our time on it? Instead, we're going to move into the power level. So this is our highest level. This is where we really are enhancing that prime mover strength, speed, and power, and rate of force production. So we're going like a low number of volume here, low to moderate number of sets. Like it might get a little high, but it's kind of in the middle. And like, moderate reps as well. And we're trying to move like very, very, very explosively here, right? This is going to be really good for creating that explosive sort of movement. So I'm going to go back here. We're going to move into May 25th. My client is now in phase 5. Instead of doing active stretches, I'm going to do dynamic stretches here, right? Because if I look at my OPT rules, I scroll down to the yellow, like power section, right? I'm doing functional flexibility, which is SMR and dynamic stretches, 3 to 10 exercises for 1 to 2 sets of 10 to 15 reps. So now I'm going to start kind of easing in. Let's go with some butt kickers, right? So they're really kind of just driving the heels into the butt. Let's go with like toy soldiers. That's sort of that hamstring, like straight leg kick. Let's go with like a side shuffle into a lunge. So side shuffling lunges. So they're going to basically do this dynamic stretch where they go 1, 2, lunge, 1, 2, lunge, right? And then we'll go with some arm circles so we can get those, get that chest stretched out. So go arm circles. And then lastly, we'll go with arm swings, right? Which will be really good for the lats. Now this time I can pick somewhere between 1 and 2 sets. I'm going to do 2 sets on this one. This moves pretty quick, so I can get through it pretty easily. 10 to 15 repetitions. Let's do 10 reps each. Yeah, I'll put that in. Right? And then, you know, this is just going to be performed as a circuit. And that way, like, you know, they're really doing, you know, they're not just going to do like 2 sets here. They're going to go butt kickers into all this, right? Now you'll notice that I removed the treadmill, you know, I removed the cardio. There's a special note in your textbook that says, like, if you do this warm-up circuit, it will kind of act as your cardio. So I don't really have to warm my client up. They're going to be plenty warm from like all that side shuffling, you know? So there we go. Now that's that. And then I need to go into core power, balance power, and plyometric power. 2 to 3 sets for all of those, 8 to 12 reps for all of those. And I've got some tempo changes here. So instead of a ball crunch, you know, where I, you know, went from not moving my spine to moving my spine, now I'm going to move my spine fast. So I'm going to go ball crunch to throw, right? That's a medicine ball. That's actually called a medicine ball. Oh God, I'm actually forgetting the darn name. Oh no, I've literally said this like probably 50 times yesterday. Why can't I think of that name? Medicine ball pullover throw. Want everybody to know, I didn't see it. I just remembered it. Pull over throw. So now I'm moving my spine fast, right? I'm like, I'm crunching my spine explosively. For my single leg, my balance exercise, I'm going to do a squat, single leg jump to stabilization. I think that's the first one listed in your books. But I'm going to jump from one leg to the same leg. I'm going to hold my landing. Right? So 3 to 5 seconds, just like I did before. And instead of a box jump, I'm going to do ice skaters, because those are really fast, super explosive, reactive power exercises. So how many reps do I do? 2 to 3 sets, 8 to 12 reps. Let's go to, 3 sets of 10 this time, just like we did last time, right? It is exactly the same. I just need to change that to 10 each. Tempo is going to be explosive for most of it. So we'll say explosive. Over here, we'll say explosive. And on this one, because it's a balance exercise, I'm going to do 3 to 5 second hold on my landing, right? Just like I did with reactive stabilization in the first month of my client's training. But this is actually a balance exercise. So we're using the same tempo to learn how to do that, right? Now my client is really advanced. So their balance exercise becomes similar to their friggin' reactive exercises before. That's wild. They've really progressed here. And now I'm going to do a little bit of speed, a little bit of agility, and a little bit of quickness. So I am allowing for maximal horizontal inertia and maximal unpredictability. So again, it's 3 to 5 sets. I'm just going to leave that at 3. It's 3 to 5 reps. I'm going to leave that at 3. Now my tempo is going to be explosive on both of these, as fast as I can get them. But the one thing I'm going to change, instead of just a left drill, I'm going to do left drill with catch. So at each cone, catch a tennis ball. So I'm going to be there on each side of the cones, right? With my client, they're going to have to turn. I'm going to give them a bad throw, right? So remember, the left drill is like sprint, back pedal. So they sprint. When they get that first cone, I'm going to throw them like kind of a bad pass. They got to reach up and catch it. They're going to drop it, back pedal. They get to the other cone. I'm going to give them another bad pass. They catch it, drop it. They turn. They do their side shuffle. So now all I did was modify the left drill to still be an agility drill, but now it's an agility drill plus a little bit of quickness because they have to use hand-eye coordination at every cone. And that was a minor progression, right? So still some speed and still some agility, but now I'm adding quickness to it. And now I just need a total body explosive movement for this entire routine. So I'm gonna go ahead and scrap the old routine because I don't need it anymore. I'm gonna go with my total body exercise. That's a speed squat to overhead press. So speed squat to overhead press. She's got the tube. Tube's gonna pull her back down. Boom, she's going through it as fast as possible. Medicine ball chest pass. For the upper back, we're going with a medicine ball soccer throw. For the shoulder, she's going a medicine ball oblique throw. And lastly, squat jumps. That's our leg power exercise. How many sets and reps do I pick? Well, let's take a look at the rules, right? We go over here, 8 to 10 reps, 3 to 5 sets, 8 to 10 reps, up to 10% body weight. So on that medicine ball, if my client weighs 60 pounds, I can go up to 6 pounds on the ball. So let's just go with 3 sets on everything. Let's go with 10 reps. And it is an explosive tempo every exercise. We'll go 0 seconds of rest. Now, the rest period should be 3 to 5 minutes between circuits. That seems like a lot, but remember, this is a very explosive routine. So they need lots of time to recover in between. That is the bare minimum I'm giving my client, 3 minutes there, you know, and that's going to be real endurance based. And that is the power routine. So we just built 3 months of workouts for a youth. Now, if you don't love these examples, just so you guys know, there is the training, the programming manual that I've also attached in the Canvas and in your emails. And you'll notice, look at all these example routines here. They've got a ton of different versions. Here's a stabilization routine. Here's a strength endurance routine. There's a power routine. There's a couple different versions out there. So you can get an example of like why these numbers are the way they are, right? So that is, so those are sort of our example routines. So like I said, for the OPT model in regards to youth, we're primarily focusing on phases 1, 2, and 5. It's very important because it's our foundation. We're going for stability. We're going for a little bit of endurance, right? We are training in unstable environments. Slow tempo, 12 to 20 reps, which we did, 0 to 90 seconds of rest. In the strength level, this is also very good for youths because it's all about that motor unit recruitment and it increases the metabolic demand while strengthening the muscles. So we're going to go with superset techniques here, starting with strength, pairing it with stabilization. We're still going to follow the stabilization rules once we get there. Medium tempo, right? So for example, a dumbbell chest press is a strength movement. A medicine ball push-up is a stabilization movement. So we put them together. Medium tempo, 8 to 12 reps. The reps go down, but really you're doubling them. So they're actually skyrocketing. And then power level, we are only doing the power movement, low to moderate sets and reps. That's 8 to 10 reps at a very explosive tempo. Now, in regards to cardio, we also want to build cardio routines for our youth clients. So we're going to probably get them to engage. I like to do circuit training with my youth clients because it doubles as cardio. You know, we're getting all these benefits of reducing our risk of high cholesterol. We're reducing hypertension and diabetes, right? And it follows the FIT principles pretty well. When you're considering your cardio, just as a reminder, you want to consider the frequency. So that should be ideally for youth, somewhere between 3 and 5 times per week. They want to be active for an hour a day. So if I did like 3 days of like this strength training stuff, let's say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I also want to get them to maybe play some fitness games that are not strength training based, that are just like really fun. Get out there, play some sports, maybe Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, you know? The intensity is the level of demand. For youths, we want to either base that on their target heart rate or just use the Borg scale or the talk test method. Ideally, we're focusing on endurance here, so we shouldn't really be going very high on the scale, right? Somewhere between like a 13 or a 14. That's zone 1 in their cardio, right? Or if we use the talk test method, our client should be able to talk the entire time. If they're a kid, right? We're not going maximal cardio intensity here, right? They should be able to hold a comfortable conversation pretty much the entire workout. The length should be about an hour, you know, an hour every time. That's going to work really well for kids. And then the type should be very aerobic. You'll notice I stayed on the high repetition range every time today because, again, they're kids. We're focusing on the aerobic system. If I wanted to build like a bodybuilder, I would have taken this whole workout that I just did and I would go on the lowest range of reps every time so they can lift heavier and get anaerobic. But only adults go anaerobic. We don't really see that in kids. So lastly, we consider the enjoyment factor. Usually circuit training is very fun. Usually playing sports is very fun, right? So we like circuit training. It's back to back. It's little rest. It's very efficient. It works very well in group and it works very well for our individual clients. And it feels different than traditional cardio. It's not like go for a run, you know? So the programming manual, guys, is going to have a lot of very good examples in it. I do encourage you guys to get on Canvas and download that programming manual. It's not the textbook you guys have been reading. It's not the chapters we've been going through. It is just example programs. So here's like a sample schedule, right? We had a client, you can see here, they were doing like in January, phase 1. In February, they were doing phase 1 and 2. So they're probably like still doing a little bit of the same routine from the first month, but like pairing it with a little bit of the 2. And then 1, 2, and 3. That's a very gentle approach. So they have a stabilization day, a strength endurance day, and a power day. That's another way you could do this. Like you could take the 3 workouts we built today, and that's your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's also a really good way to do it. We'll talk more about training splits in later classes. But yeah, that'd be like a training split example. And that's about it. Cyrus, Danny, Julio, Chris, any questions, guys? How do you feel?
No question.
All right, that's good. But yeah, so we'll go over all of these rules. I want you guys to get really familiar with this. We're gonna have a big chart day on Monday, where we're gonna actually kind of go over all these rules and we'll look at them individually and how they got into the OPT model. And that way on Monday, I can also go over hypertrophy and max strength routines, which we didn't really do a lot of this month, this week. I do want to go over those so that you guys know how to do them. Some of you guys are heading to Capstone. Chris, I think you're still with me for another mod. I think I'll have to check everybody's schedule, but some people are moving into Capstone. I want to make sure that we do hypertrophy and max strength before everybody goes. But other than that, you guys have made it to Saturday. Let's kick you out of here and enjoy your weekend, guys.